Hello, everybody. Today is day 9 of my 30-day challenge. I realize a lot of people tend to wait when they do their lives to see who comes up, and I don't. I just go for it. I figured people will join when they join, and the replay is there, and so it'll be of service regardless. So today, it's a little bit of not a harder topic, but yeah, it's one of those topics that help you into a new reality. So, in the description, I talk about the mirror. I don't know if you guys remember this because, I'm getting old. But back in the 80s, there was a fantastic movie called The Never Ending Story. And the main character has to pass through 3 different gates to get to this oracle that he's supposed to get to get this piece of information that he desperately needs. And it's kind of like the hero's journey. The hero's journey, we all love that because if you look at every single movie that we watch nowadays, it's the hero's journey. Someone goes through some hardship of sorts. They learn some really cool things, and then they grow into believing into themselves, and they do something amazing, and they're the hero. So in this one of the gates, the hardest gate to get through, is the mirror. And the mirror is interesting because so many warriors would pass through, and they were brave, and they would go through all of they had honor and everything through the first couple of gates. But this third one would show you your true nature. And when someone says that the mirror is going to show you your true nature, it can be a very scary thing. And so many warriors in this movie, when they reached that mirror, would run away in terrible fear when they saw what they thought was a monster staring right back at them. But that's what we tend to think of when we think, okay, now I really have to examine my life. If you start examining your life in a different way, where it doesn't have to be I'm a bad person or I do these things that are bad, because it's really not that simple. It can be a very it can be such a powerful tool for your life. So the mirror is basically, if you start paying attention like I do, everything I do is, I'm always paying attention. But for me, the mirror is what I see in my everyday life. So when life is going beautiful and things are just working out in that miraculous way, like yesterday's story that I shared about me going to Boston in my own little retreat, and that tool, how does it get better than this? I was in my mind thinking about all these beautiful things. So everything that I was thinking of was being reflected back to me. So my mindset was showing me where I was. And then of course I believe in the miraculous. So I think all of that was just like, yeah, let's do that together. And so more and more of that came in, more of that beautiful energy. The unfortunate piece or it's not unfortunate because it is fortunate, we are alive. This is the life experience that we came to be embodied here in the now. If you can see that the bad things that are happening in your life are a basic mirror of what's happening in here, then you become more powerful because you are aware that everything that's happening outside of you is a mirror of what's happening in here. Again, nothing's wrong with you, and it's not bad when things are going what is perceived as bad, right? You're given an opportunity. Every single event is it's so funny because I'm doing this tool right now. It's interesting point of view. I have this point of view. It's another tool I'll have to share later. But it's interesting how two people can have the same event happen to them, and they have completely different ways of looking at it. I remember hearing the story once of this gentleman, people interviewed after a hurricane, And there's this whole family, and they are just bawling and crying because they had lost a couple of cars and a few things, but their house was fine. They were okay, but they had a lot of damage, and they were in desperate, horrible uh, uh, turmoil. Then they asked this other guy the same exact question, and he is in just his underwear. His house had been completely demolished. All there was foundation. And they asked him, "So how are you? How are you doing?" He's like, "I'm alive. This is fantastic." He had nothing left, but he was alive, and he had a pair of underwear on, so he was good. So the mirror goes to show you what's right in front of you. But when we're so busy and not, we're so busy trying to get something else, and we're not present in our bodies, we tend to think that these things are bad things, when sometimes they might be the things we need right at that moment. Again, this is where I bring my boys in. If I wouldn't have had children like my Heather's journey. Oh, Heather, I love your comment. We are all a work in progress with the mirror, honey. I love you too. Oh my gosh. Yes. So this is why I share what I'm doing, because all of us need to remember that we're not alone in this, that we truly are. Yeah, we're right. We rise back up from the ashes, even better. If you want to, yeah, absolutely feel that way. The point is, it's up to you. You're not alone. And you can really truly create that new experience right there at the moment. So again, back to why my boys, I would not be on this if it weren't for my children. So what's interesting about the mirror, again, I had a wonderful conversation with a wonderful friend of mine from back in middle school, and she just showed up in my life lately. She sounds like she's going through the process of finding out if her kid has something similar to what we have. And I shared with her that at the beginning it's so overwhelming because they require so much attention. Their communication skills are not there. They have these behaviors that if they don't do it, they break down. I mean, we have massive tantrums, massive issues. I remember holding Will one time for 20 minutes while he screamed, and I thought he hurt himself, and he was 2 years old, and I'm checking his little, because he was playing by himself in the game room, and all of a sudden I hear that blood curdling scream. I run over there, and he's of course not telling me. He's just like, and I'm freaking out because I don't know what to do. So I'm looking. He's fine. So all I can do is just rock him, but I'm full on, this is a traumatic event for me. Finally, we figured out he just couldn't fit this little square peg in a round hole. And that was the everyday. It was just like and then my husband needed something, and then my other one needed something. And it was one of those things where you get to the point where you're like, wow, I'm just not enough. There was not enough of me to make everybody okay. What's going to happen to me? I'm going to shrivel up and die in some corner. And that was my life. And I told her, you're not alone. Those thoughts absolutely went through my head. So it was really interesting is when you're in the mindset of the mirror, understanding that reality that has been set up for you is to show you something about yourself. I was able to take a step back. The screaming brought me to that moment of, okay, I have to be quiet and find out, because he's okay. He's not dying. It just sounds terrible, once I figured out that that's what it was. But he made me stop and pay attention. And he still does that to this day. They both do. But by me stopping, then I can kind of pay attention to, wow, okay, in my mind, my mirror is, I am not enough. And him screaming is showing me that I'm not enough. So what can I do to release the idea that I'm not enough? And love myself more, honor myself for being here with him. And that's when I use the tool, how does it get better than this? And what's amazing is because he's trained me with his screaming, and we've learned how to help him with other ways. Because he's trained me to do that, I've been able to train myself to pause, pay attention to what's being shown to me at that moment, really look, check in with my heart, see what's the truth in that moment, That's why I'm always meditating and praying and connecting and asking for grace, because right then and there I can hear that really soft, beautiful voice. All is well always. He just needs a little extra time. You don't have to worry about controlling the situation right now. It's okay if you guys are late to school, because we have issues in getting out of bed and getting dressed, and he doesn't want to go to school and all that fun stuff. You're not, it's not that, because I would think in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I'm not enough. The teacher's going to think I'm a terrible parent, all that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Craziness out there. And by him screaming, it kind of gets to and I hear that little soft voice saying, it's okay. I can just, stop. Let him have his moment. I approach it differently, because I used to just yell right back, which never works. And I was able to change that in my heart and in my mind. And all of a sudden, the mornings became more smooth. And things are working out better and better. Like we are understanding each other on how to, oh, I'm glitching. I'm sorry, love. Okay. Well, maybe that's a good reason. And that's another thing. When we're glitching and electronics aren't working and we are stuck in traffic, I always attribute that to there's something that's not supposed to be said or seen or heard, because there's something better coming up. So I trust it. If it's not working, it's okay. It's no big deal. I'm just going to share what's coming from my heart. And hopefully it will improve in the connection and come at you when you need it. So yeah, the mirror. Do that with everything, with every relationship you have. If you have a stubborn man that you're hanging out, or a stubborn person, whoever your person is, regardless of gender, stubbornness exists in all of us. If you're dealing with someone who's stubborn, check yourself. Where are you stubborn? And then see where that flexibility is, where you can be that. I'm not saying don't let go of those boundaries. You definitely need those with a good relationship. Everybody has theirs, and you learn how to respect each other. But what I am saying is, where are you not allowing, where are you being controlling? Where are you being, if you feel like you're being yelled at, where are you yelling at people? Ooh, that's a fun one. The point is, Wayne Dyer is a fantastic writer, spiritual teacher who passed a couple years ago. And he had this thing where people would ask him, what was it like to live in Hawaii? And he'd ask them, so was it like where you live? And they'd say, oh my gosh, it's terrible. The neighbors are so bad. There's just noise all the time. It's just the worst. And so they'd ask us, what about Hawaii? And he goes, yeah, it's just like that. That's what Hawaii is like. And then when the other people would ask, what's it like living in Hawaii? And he'd ask, well, what's it like for you where you live? Oh, the neighbors are the best. We love it. It's so quiet and beautiful. And then so he'd say, yeah, that's what Hawaii is like. Again, it's that beautiful mirror thing that it's always at play. So really it's just learn how to be quiet for yourself, watchful, observant, checking in with yourself constantly, because your emotions are super useful. Doesn't mean swallow your emotion, definitely, because that's another thing. People tend to think it's like, oh, I'm gonna let this go now. Let it go when you're ready to let it go. If you want to wallow in it a little bit, wallow. You're totally allowed. Like today I had a funky day, so I was like, you know what, what's the topic for today? And here we are, we're talking about the mirror. But let yourself have that moment, so that way you've had it fully, you've experienced it, and then you can choose what you want to do next. You didn't put it away. What I do, I just go even deeper for me. What is the bottom belief in this? Where am I feeling like I am not enough? I surrender that now. And I fill myself with the possibilities. And I add, how does it get better than this? And then I let it be and let it go. And something really cool ends up happening every single time. So that's the video for today. I hope it is of service for y'all. Remember that if you don't catch the live here, you can see me on my YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button if it calls to you. hit the like buttons for the videos because that helps, and notification buttons so you know when I upload. Because yes, Heather, I'm going to upload some of the fun stuff on the boys and their meditations. I have 2 for you. I just have to upload them. I just haven't had the time. But at least you can show your sweet boy that we are doing our ohms still, that it's not what people think when you meditate with kids, that they sit down all pretty. They do it for a little bit and then they start going crazy again. So I'll put those up on the YouTube channel so you guys can see it, because it's hilarious. Just if anything, if you want to laugh, it's funny watching Stevie trying to meditate. It's all the time, just noises. Anyway, I hope you guys I hope it serves you today. I wish you all the best, sending you all my love and light, and I will catch you in tomorrow's video. And thanks again for all the support, Heather. Good to see you here. Thanks, guys. Have a lovely night.